Here we are again. Another round of headlines, another deluge of secrets. It feels like every few years the same names and scandals resurface, demanding our attention. But this time, something is different. The air is thick with anticipation, and the world is watching, waiting for the next revelation to drop. The story of Jeffrey Epstein has haunted the public consciousness for years, but now, it's not just whispers and speculation. It's a tidal wave of evidence. On February 3, 2026, the U.S. Department of Justice released millions of documents tied to Jeffrey Epstein. This unprecedented release wasn't just a bureaucratic formality, it was a seismic event, shaking the foundations of power and privilege in America. The sheer volume of information is staggering, and the implications are only beginning to be understood. This wasn't a leak, it was a calculated government-sanctioned move, with more files still to come. The authorities are no longer just gatekeepers. They're opening the vault, piece by piece, and the world is finally getting a glimpse inside. Why does it matter? Because these aren't just rumors, they're receipts, emails, flight logs, calendars, and more. These documents are the hard evidence that connect the dots between Epstein and some of the most powerful people on the planet. For years, the truth was buried under layers of denial and distraction. Now, the paper trail is undeniable. They reveal the scale and audacity of Epstein's network and the system that protected him. The web of connections stretches from Wall Street boardrooms to royal palaces, from Hollywood parties to the halls of government. It's a network built on secrecy, influence, and the willingness of many to look the other way. This isn't just about one man, it's about the powerful people who enabled him, who partied with him, who looked the other way. It's about the culture of silence that allowed abuse to flourish in the shadows of luxury and privilege. The guest lists, the invitations, the knowing glances, every detail matters now. The story's about the elite, and the uncomfortable question of who knew what, and when. It's about the decisions made behind closed doors, the favors exchanged, and the secrets kept to protect reputations and fortunes. The world is finally asking, how deep does this go? For years, the public sensed the full story was hidden. Now, the curtain is being pulled back. Investigative journalists, activists, and ordinary citizens are demanding transparency, refusing to let the truth be buried again. The pressure is mounting, and the stakes have never been higher. These documents confirm what many suspected. There's one world for the ultra-wealthy, and another for everyone else. The divide is stark, and the consequences are real. Justice, it seems, has always been a privilege, not a guarantee. Attending parties with a known predator was just part of the social calendar for some. For others, it was a ticket to power, influence, or protection. The normalization of this behavior is as shocking as the crimes themselves. The timing, explosive. With political tensions high, this is a scandal bomb. The fallout is unpredictable, and the repercussions could reshape the landscape of power for years to come. It forces us to re-examine presidents, princes, and billionaires, and demand answers. No one is above scrutiny now, and the world is watching to see who will be held accountable. This isn't just morbid curiosity, it's a demand for accountability. The public wants justice, not just headlines. People are tired of seeing the powerful escape consequences, while victims are left with scars and silence. The public is piecing together a puzzle that's been locked away for years. Every new document, every new name, brings us closer to the truth. The process is painstaking, but the determination is relentless. And now, finally, the box has been kicked open for all to see. The world is watching, and this time, we won't look away. Before we dive into the list of nervous celebrities, let's recap. Who was Jeffrey Epstein, and why did his name send shockwaves through the world's most exclusive circles? Officially, he was a financier, a man who seemed to move effortlessly through the upper echelons of global finance. But in reality, Epstein was a figure shrouded in mystery, with a fortune that seemed to appear out of thin air and connections that reached into the highest levels of power. His story began in the classroom, working as a teacher at an elite private school. But soon he made a leap that few could explain, landing a job on Wall Street without a college degree and quickly rising through the ranks. Before long, he was running his own mysterious financial firm, catering to a clientele so secretive, even their names were rarely spoken aloud. Where did his money come from? That question has haunted investigators and journalists for decades. Epstein claimed to manage billions for the ultra-wealthy, but the details were always hidden behind layers of offshore accounts and financial smokescreens. But Epstein's real genius wasn't just in making money, it was in collecting people. He built a Rolodex that included presidents, royalty, Nobel laureates, tech titans, and Hollywood stars. His social web was a who's who of global influence. He hosted extravagant parties in Manhattan, exclusive conferences in the Caribbean, and flew guests around the world on his infamous Lolita Express. These gatherings weren't just for fun, they were opportunities to forge alliances, trade favors, and deepen his grip on the powerful. Epstein was the ultimate connector, a man who could open doors that were closed to almost everyone else. If you wanted access to the world's most powerful, he was the gatekeeper. His homes were legendary, an opulent Manhattan mansion, a sprawling private island in the Caribbean, and other luxury properties. These were playgrounds for the elite, places where secrets were kept and the outside world was kept at bay. Even after his 2008 conviction for sex crimes, Epstein's powerful network barely flinched. Many of his friends and associates continued to stand by him, attending his events and maintaining close ties. He served just 13 months in a cushy jail, with work release privileges that let him spend his days in his office. Despite his conviction, the invitations to exclusive gatherings kept coming, and his social calendar remained full. Now, newly unsealed documents reveal just how many powerful friends stayed close, even after his crimes were public knowledge. The list of names is long, and the connections run deep. Epstein wasn't just a creep, he was a convicted predator, shielded by privilege and protected by a system that too often favors the rich and well-connected. His story is a symptom of a much larger problem, a world where wealth and influence can wash away almost any sin, and where justice is often a privilege, not a right. And that's why, even now, the world is still watching, because the story of Jeffrey Epstein is about more than one man. It's about the hidden power structures that shape our world, and the urgent questions they raise. Now, the names. This is what everyone's talking about. The files read like a toxic yearbook. Former and current US presidents, British royalty, tech moguls, politicians. It's not about partisanship, it's about power. Trump and Clinton top the list, their ties to Epstein, reigniting political firestorms. The tech world isn't spared. Elon Musk appears in Epstein's communications, showing how Epstein targeted new money as well as old. In the UK, Prince Andrew's disgrace is front and center. A royal scandal that won't fade. The list is a map of global influence: cabinet secretaries, billionaires, entertainers. Each name deepens the story. Epstein wasn't an outsider, but a central node in the elite's web. Years after his death, his ghost still haunts the powerful, and the public is watching, more skeptical than ever. Let's talk about Donald Trump's shifting story. In 2002, Trump called Epstein a terrific guy and joked about his taste for younger women. Today, Trump insists he cut ties long ago and knew nothing of Epstein's crimes. When the new files dropped, Trump went on the offensive, blaming others, claiming a conspiracy against him. He paints himself as a victim, not an associate, reframing the narrative to rally his base. But the core questions remain. Why did he praise Epstein? Why ignore questions about the victims? No criminal charges have been filed against Trump, but the issue isn't just legal, it's moral. Why did a future president call a predator terrific, and why is his main concern now his own image? The answers matter because they reveal what kind of judgment and accountability our leaders have. The bluster can't hide the uncomfortable truth. The public wants more than deflection. They want real answers. Trump isn't alone. Bill Clinton's name is back in the spotlight, drawing renewed scrutiny and speculation. The echoes of past scandals seem to follow him, no matter how much time has passed. Clinton flew on Epstein's jet for foundation work, or so he says. He maintains that his involvement was strictly professional, tied to charitable causes and global initiatives. Yet, he insists he knew nothing of Epstein's crimes, distancing himself from the darkness that would later come to light. His defense has been consistent, firm, and so far, unchallenged by criminal charges. Clinton's public statements are measured, always denying any knowledge of wrongdoing, and his legal team has repeatedly emphasized his innocence. But the association itself is damaging. How could a former president not sense something was wrong? The question lingers, casting a shadow over his legacy. And then, there's Elon Musk, another name drawn into Epstein's orbit. Epstein tried to lure Musk in, inviting him to exclusive parties and promising introductions to interesting people. These gatherings were more than just social events, they were opportunities for Epstein to expand his network of influence. Musk declined, citing work, and denied ever visiting Epstein's island. He's been clear in interviews and statements, emphasizing that he kept his distance and never accepted Epstein's invitations. Still, Epstein dangled the promise of wild parties as bait for the powerful, always seeking to draw in those with status and wealth. For some, it was a tempting offer. For others, a red flag. Was it just boasting, or a near miss? The line between rumor and reality blurs, leaving only speculation and unanswered questions. Either way, it shows how Epstein operated, using charm, access, and the allure of exclusivity to draw in the elite, always working the room, always seeking new connections. The story is murky, but the pattern is clear. Epstein used access and temptation to draw in the world's most powerful, weaving a web that's still being unraveled. The denials may be true, but the questions linger. Each new revelation only deepens the mystery, fueling public suspicion and debate. In the court of public opinion, association alone is enough to raise eyebrows. The mere hint of a connection can be damning regardless of the facts. And the public isn't satisfied with silence. They want answers, accountability, and the truth behind the denials. This isn't just an American scandal, it's global. In the UK, former cabinet minister Peter Mandelson faces investigation for allegedly leaking secrets to Epstein. The royal family is still reeling from Prince Andrew's downfall, stripped of titles, exiled, and forced to settle a lawsuit. Prime Minister Starmer has even suggested Andrew should testify before Congress, an unprecedented humiliation. In Norway, Crown Princess Mette-Marit admitted to poor judgment in befriending Epstein, expressing regret. Epstein's reach was international, his network a web of influence across continents. The scandal exposes a culture among global elites where normal rules don't apply. From London to Oslo, powerful people are being forced to answer for their ties to a man who should have been a pariah. The fallout is far from over. The stain is global, and it won't wash out easily. The world is watching. After the document dump, reactions from the famous have ranged from loud denials to strategic silence. Trump attacks, claiming victimhood. Clinton and Musk issue careful statements, distancing themselves. Most rely on spokespeople, hoping the news cycle moves on. The message? Yes, there was a connection, but nothing more. But the public isn't buying it. The issue isn't just criminal liability, it's judgment and decency. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said, "It isn't a crime to party with Mr. Epstein." Technically true, but it misses the point. The real question: why did so many powerful people stay close, even after Epstein's conviction? The legal system may be done, but the court of public opinion is still in session. For many, the lack of consequences just proves the rules are different for the elite, and that's why the outrage isn't fading. How did so many powerful people claim ignorance about Epstein? The answer: willful blindness. It's easier not to ask questions when the perks are so good. Epstein's world was built on luxury and access. Questioning the host could mean losing your invitation. No one wanted to be the one to ask about the incredibly young women always around. The price of admission was silence, and most were happy to pay it. This isn't unique to Epstein. It's a pattern among elites who see themselves as above the rules. Decency gets suspended, and the desire to stay in the club overrides moral responsibility. Epstein thrived because too many chose not to look. The result: a predator operated in plain sight, protected by the willful blindness of the powerful. And that's the real scandal. Why does this story grip us? Because it's about more than Epstein. It's about trust in our leaders. The document release fuels public cynicism, confirming fears that the elite play by different rules. Every denial, every silence, chips away at faith in institutions. It's a story of power protecting power and the powerless paying the price. Scandals like this force a reckoning, demanding answers, accountability, and a return to basic integrity. Epstein used his connections as a shield, and the famous lent him credibility. For the public, it's a sickening display of how the system protects its own. The demand for justice isn't just about punishing individuals, it's about restoring the idea that no one is above the law. The Epstein saga is a grim lesson in what happens when those principles rot at the top.